On this video, we're still in quarantine. I mean, still in our houses, I guess. We should be. Everyone should be in your houses, keeping safe, keeping away from this mess, and keeping those numbers down. Let's be as safe as we can. And in the meantime, let's watch movies that are so terrible that we say, how bad could it be? And this week we're talking about Failure to Launch with Hellinger. I'm gonna bet that quite a few of you out there haven't heard of this movie because I don't see anybody ever talking about it. And I think we're about to find out why. So Hellinger kicks off 20 years ago with an abused young girl and an abused audience due to this stellar acting.
You're just repeating what you heard her say, aren't you? Or do you really believe what you're telling me? Do you?
Dad, please, you're hurting me.
You're a little witch, aren't you? Ever since she left, you've been teasing me.
Hellinger appears and is hilarious as we find out what Pinhead would look like without the pins, competent special effects, and a single ounce of subtlety.
And now, your dreams are your reality. And your reality has set me free!
After heading to present day, we get a guy with spaghetti sauce in his shirt, and Melissa is the grown-up little girl, still haunted by the evil priest, and I'm still haunted by his line readings.
I've missed you more than God!
Also, while doing these How Bad Could It Be movies, I've noticed a trend. I guess when low-budget filmmakers need set dressing, they just throw movie posters for indie companies up on the wall, and it's usually full moon or trauma posters.
Me, he's waiting for you.
As if I care about him. Why don't you do me a favor, Bob, and go fuck yourself?
What? Were they using my old microphone for this shot? The police can't figure out who's killing people, so they bring in this guy. He's not a cop. They just bring him in. And the scene ends, but they actually go back to the officer for what I think is supposed to be a joke. That guy is Melissa's cousin, and the movie really wants you to know what a badass he is with his theme music.
Gorgeous.
What? The killer cuts tongues out, and I think he eats them, even though it's clearly not her tongue. It's like twice the size of a human tongue. This film features a rare transition of going through a man's penis, and I guess we're coming out his butt there. And then, man, is this guy badass because not only the music, but he's got a motorcycle too. He goes to her psychiatrist and asks him about her, and the psychiatrist just straight up talks about it with him. Like, a guy shows up at the doctor's house, says that he's Melissa's cousin, and with no proof, he just talks to her about his patient. So apparently patient confidentiality is not his top priority. Hellinger shows up occasionally, and I think he's supposed to be doing something to this guy's eyes. I mean, his hands are just kind of over them. And man, every time this guy comes on screen is hilarious. I gotta say, you can't say he doesn't commit to the role.
What happened to those who plot against me? To those who think that they can fool Hellinger?
They give Hellinger's backstory, and he was a priest that made a deal with the devil, and he even has Pinhead chains. He attacks the cousin, and what is this shot?
Go back to the hell, motherfucker!
Discount Al Jorgensen shows up and just takes him directly to Hellinger somehow, and the evil guy talks for about a half an hour.
I had the answer.
Melissa punches a plastic head, which is absolutely just hysterical, because watch it again. I love that there's no skull or anything, and his eyes just appear to be like attached to the skin, like a mask. And then that's literally it. The killings around town are never explained. The heavy metal cowboy isn't explained. There's no point to anything. The police officer didn't do anything. No one did anything. I'm not even sure what I just watched, but it's pretty clear that they wanted to create a knockoff Hellraiser. And I've seen a lot of other really low-budget, crappy movies get sequels made out of them, so why not this one? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious why. This movie has no story to follow up on. There's really nothing there. This film has zero story. It's literally a bunch of people walking around saying things that don't affect anything. The killings of the movie that are just happening all throughout the city seem to be a focal point of the film, as they have the police investigating them, Melissa's cousins investigating them. They actually show one of the murders. It seems as if they're going to play into the plot, and then they just kind of don't. They don't matter to the storyline whatsoever. The crazy cowboy character who shows up a couple times throughout the film just in the background, but then actually takes him directly to Hellinger at the ending, is never really explained and doesn't really have a point anyhow, except just to pretty much tell the cousin where he is. That's his whole purpose in the plot. The Reverend character is basically just in the beginning of the movie, shows up like one or two other times briefly, but doesn't actually do anything in the overall storyline. From a special effects standpoint, again, there's nothing happening here. They just seriously had a villain that they put in a priest costume and then painted his skin white. That's it. That's the extent of the special effects for your villain. Most of the special effects are just kind of blood. Random blood spattering. There's not a whole lot to it. And even the big, gigantic special effect at the ending of her punching through Hellinger's head is the most obvious dummy head I've ever seen in a movie. It's kind of ridiculous. Everything about this movie is ridiculous. The acting is extremely inconsistent. You either have characters reading their lines in the most monotone, flat way possible, or the most over-the-top, comedically cringy, crazy voice. Cinematography-wise, there's really nothing to look at here. There's a couple of nice shots of New York, but that's just New York being New York. Everything else is shot really blandly. The locations are pretty standard. It's just people's rooms. I'm going to guess people he knows rooms. The police station does look like maybe a police station, but you only ever really see this one desk. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of money behind this, but apparently it didn't make any money either, since there was never any sort of follow-up. So there you have it. It's just one movie. It's obvious why it's only one movie. It's terrible. It's probably one of the worst movies I've seen in my entire life. I don't know if I'd put it in my top 5, but it's definitely probably in the top 10. It's up there. This is a really bad movie. Yeah, don't watch it. If you do want to watch it, if you have some sort of weird curiosity, the full thing is available on YouTube for free to check out. So go ahead and check it out there. Let me know what you thought of this video down below, and like and subscribe, give me some comments. Also, if you want to check out a great little podcast that's available on Spotify, you can check out Converslation, the first episode of which I'm a guest. Actually, I did an appearance on the podcast talking about mental illness in horror films. So you should really check that out, because I think it's a great little concept and idea, and I'd really like to hear more of it. And if you want to hear me talking about mental health and horror movies, that's where to do it. Again, it's Conversation. Pretty cool. So check that out. Also check out my patrons over here, because these guys are awesome and help keep this channel alive and keep it going, as do you by watching these videos, and I thank you guys very much for it. And I'll see you very, very shortly for another great video. Thanks, guys. Bye.